What's good, child support? Gang. Random video for y'all today. I was just scrolling through YouTube like I normally do, trying to find something to watch, because it don't be nothing to watch sometimes. I'm looking at this. I know it's a lot of homeless people. I went to LA. They got a lot of homeless people in tents. They got a lot of homeless people downtown Miami. How they gonna do anti-homeless streets in New York? I always hear it's a rat problem, it's homeless problem. Like, I was interested. So I hope y'all interested like me. I'm finna watch this real quick and see how they gonna anti-homeless the streets, bruh. Look at these benches. Like, these benches look crazy. Let's see it. See what they gonna do.
What the heck are these things? And why are there 5 of them?
The goal was to prevent homeless from sleeping under this bridge. Instead, it backlashed with outrage from the town.
Armrests in the middle of benches to large rocks added underneath bridges. Homeless advocates call these designs hostile architecture or anti-homeless.
In London and Paris, you see spikes on windowsills.
I know they used to put that for like skateboarders so they wouldn't grind the rails or the ledges. But they doing it for homeless people now? That's crazy. So where they gonna go?
In D.C., a curved bench.
Hostile architecture is when cities put features in the architecture to try to keep homeless people away.
Spikes that would hurt people seemed like a bad idea.
So this looks like a metal covering for the subway vent, which is underneath it. At first I thought it was a bench, but you can really only sit on this corner of it. You'll notice that the top of this is incredibly uneven. And then there's these raised ridges, which are on all 5 of them. And what happens if you try to lay down on it? Is that even possible? Oh, that is like the most uncomfortable thing I've ever experienced. This ridge right here is going into my spine, and
all right, he's saucing it up a little bit, but you know they gonna put covers and stuff on top of it, right? Like, if people used to sleeping on the floor, if they want to sleep on that, they'll make it comfortable.
that's on purpose, and this is called hostile architecture. And critics of hostile architecture say that usually these types of installations are cruel and unnecessary because they target the needy. And we're gonna look at a whole bunch of examples of this. Subway benches that serve no purpose, a train station designed to make you go crazy, and several parks that look nice, but were designed to be so uncomfortable that you'll leave after 5 or 10 minutes, and they're all here in New York. Now, hostile or defensive architecture consists of public installations like this, which are designed to do one thing while preventing another thing. This right here is a normal uncovered subway grate, and in the wintertime when it's cold out, someone with nowhere to go might want to use an area like this to help keep warm because warm air comes out of here. And right now, New York City is experiencing record homelessness. And lately, both private developers and the city have been building all sorts of things like this, but they've got to be really sneaky about it, because when I found out what these were, it made me pretty uncomfortable to realize that they were specifically designed to stop people who have nothing from staying warm in the wintertime. Is that okay? And sometimes when cities build stuff like this, people find out and get really upset. And that's what happened 2 years ago when the city started introducing hostile architecture to the subway system. This is the 23rd Street and 6th Avenue subway stop, and it looks like a normal subway station, but it was the site of heated controversy when the city subway, the MTA, introduced hostile architecture to this station. A couple of years ago, riders noticed that the benches in this very same platform were suddenly removed. And as you can imagine, people were not happy about that, not only because of how cruel it might seem towards certain individuals, but also because the elderly, people who are pregnant, there's other people that need benches in the subway too, and this was a quality of life hit for everybody on this platform. And the benches were originally along this wall, and look at what the replacement is. Is this even a replacement? I mean, you can lean on it. I guess this is better than leaning yourself against the wall, which might be dirty. It has spots for 4 leaners. Now, there are 2 benches in this platform, which were put back after the city realized that their decision had outraged people. But even these have elements of hostile architecture in them. Look at these armrests. All you can do is sit here. You can't lay down. This is only like 2 feet wide. Its only purpose is for sitting. It is hostile to any other intended use. Look, you can't even be that wide in here. Some people even suggested the city had violated the Americans with Disabilities Act by removing the benches. And this isn't the first time the city had done something like this. Check this out. A year earlier, the city had removed all of the seat backs from the benches on a subway station just a couple blocks south of this one. The city claims that once they did that, they saw a reduction in the number of people loitering on the platform, along with an increase in the number of passengers.
My whole question is, if they have money to like build these like structures or have somebody think of ways to like, because you got to pay somebody to think of ways to try to build these different obstacles and these seating arrangements and these lean on mechanics and the ridges inside why they can't just put that money into investing into a place where the homeless people could go rehabilitate and probably work a job or do something to try to get them off the streets. Like, I don't get it.
Who were on the platform waiting for trains, but by removing the seat backs from the benches that were already there, they essentially did exactly what this is by creating something that's less functional and lowers everyone's quality of use when they're in the subway. And I'm noticing that this is a trend because look at all the people standing with nowhere to sit. You see these concrete patches right here? There was something here. It was probably a bench. It looks to be about that wide. There's one other over here by the door, and there are no benches anywhere else. Just one more spot to lean right over there. And before we look at how the city is using these same type of designs at a brand new train station and a bunch of public parks, it's important to understand that this is exposing the dark side of this type of architecture, because there might be benefits as far as the orderliness of the subway system is concerned, but New York City gets pretty cold in the wintertime, and the subway is a place where needy New Yorkers go when they have nowhere else to go so that they don't freeze. And yes, the city has shelters, but they have a rather poor reputation, and because of New York's asylum crisis, the shelter system's already maxed out. And since the shelters are perceived as being dangerous, it makes tons of sense that people would rather take their chances in a place like this, and removing subway benches doesn't do anything to make people less homeless. They're still homeless, even if you remove the benches, and they've still got nowhere to go. And most critics of these types of policies, they want a clean subway too, but they don't really think it's fair to take from people who already have so little. And the city's subsequent removal of benches here and reinstallation of different benches, that basically let the city know that if they're gonna do stuff like this, they've gotta be sneakier about it, and they have been, as we're about to see. Isn't that wild? This is a pretty impressive train station, but there are some serious problems with it that we'll get into. But first, it's important to understand that many aspects of this design and other hostile designs are nice. Nice to look at, not necessarily nice to use. But this is called the Moynihan Trail, and it is the newest train station in New York City. Building it cost over $1 billion, and it was completed just a couple of years ago. It also has this gorgeous glass ceiling, which is a throwback to Penn Station's original design. Penn Station is where Madison Square Garden is. That's direct.
When they say it cost $1 billion, where does money come from, bro? Is it strictly like taxpayer money? Like, how do I gotta get into politics and all of that stuff? I gotta figure out, like, where do they use this money that they be building all these structures and buildings and stuff? Because in turn, it's like they be charging us a lot for that shit. Why we can't get discounts, man, if we helping pay for this shit?
Across the street. And this is what that used to look like. And as far as train stations go, this is pretty nice. Look, there's a full Walgreens in here. There's an eatery with a bunch of restaurants. The ticketing areas, everything here's gorgeous. But there's one glaring flaw. And no, it's not that fixing the expensive glass roof is something that takes a while and it's hard to do. Look at the size of that cherry picker they got right there. Do you see the problem? There's no seats. And that's why every single person in this billion-dollar terminal is standing. And it's a train station. The only thing there is to do here is wait for things to happen. Not a seat in the whole place. Do you think they should put some benches in here so people have a place to sit?
That's a great idea.
It is, right?
That is a great idea.
Did you know they spent over $1 billion making this and they didn't put benches?
Not a single bench. I mean, they have those lounges over there, but that's for people that have tickets.
Yeah, you gotta pay.
Yeah.
Like Spirit Airlines.
Right.
Oh, you want a seat? You gotta pay. Now, having no benches could be a ploy from these corporations to get you to go inside and spend money. And it seems to be working. There's a lot of people over here. But the lack of seating is a deliberately hostile choice. People just plop their stuff down on the floor. And if you're wondering why nobody's trying to sit on the floor, that's because security will find you and make you stand up. And to be fair, this old image of Penn Station, look, I see some seat seats down here at the bottom. So maybe there were more seats there than there are here in its reimagination. But you know, the old station is mostly open space. And what that could mean is that open space is a great Spartan design for a public train station in New York City. And you know, the way to answer that is to go across the street to the ugliest building in town, which is also a train station.
You keep showing them ugly ass Nikes, bro. We ain't copping those.
Look at that, it's the same deal. 1 hour limit, and you gotta have a ticket to get into the waiting area. And everyone else in this beautiful piece of New York City architecture is standing or walking. I love the 1970s aluminum ceiling. The floor reminds me of my elementary school. And look at this, these are those crazy old school drop tile ceilings. Now this certainly isn't modern, new, or fancy by any stretch of the imagination, but it's eerily similar to what's across the street, because all this open space with no seats, that's hostile architecture. At least the new monitors are bright, but this is another design where absolutely nothing about it is meant to be comfortable. Luckily, there are seats inside some of the little restaurants over here, which you'll be paying for. And look at this, the wall is even roped off for some reason. Maybe it's because they've got this fancy tile and this artwork on it, and they don't want people who have nowhere to sit leaning on it. But back in 2020, loitering in this station and in Grand Central caused economic issues for small businesses that are here paying rent. And in addition to building things in a way that is not conducive to comfort in any manner, the city stepped up security. But unfortunately, this is a 24-hour facility, and those most negatively impacted by hostile architectural design and policing were those who needed a place when it was cold out. But New York doesn't just limit hostile architecture to the inside of buildings. Now it's on the outside as well. And no, I'm not talking about how they roped off all the steps at the post office so no one can sit here. Back in the day, you could climb the steps. There are doors over here, but now look, they got it all roped off. It's just here looking pretty. Very pretty. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about something way worse. This isn't really comfortable. I can't believe whoever designed this calls this a...
Yeah, if a bit got a BBL, that she falling off that shit. She can't sit on those unless she got a reverse cowgirl that joint.
Bench and got away with it. It's actually like a barrier if you think about it. This is the Highline Park, and it's actually a park built upon an old railway track, which means many parts of it are skinny and narrow, but it's also very long. It goes like 15 blocks. There be some of the old train tracks right there underneath us, and I'm guessing that these barrier benches serve to move the flow of traffic down the park. And I guess they don't want big groups inside these little triangle areas. Oh look, another awkward place to sit. I feel like I'm a little close to the traffic here. And this is what happens if you try to lay down on it. Look, my shoulders and arms are falling off the side. What a bizarre way to construct something. There's no way you're gonna sit on a bench like this for very long. Maybe just long enough to eat a sweet green salad. And look at this geometric nightmare right here. I bet people were getting hurt on this thing. That's why they had to rope it off. You can see that these two benches are basically here to tell this traffic to go this way and to have this traffic come this way. Only someone with a college degree could have come up with this. I know, because I have a degree. Now, in spite of how this entire section of the park is textbook hostile architecture, that changes in this area that opens up, because over here we've got what seems to be an actual seat. This is definitely better than the awkward bench. And I'm pretty sure the designers of this park envisioned it as an urban pathway that leads north to south along Manhattan's west side, with some areas being akin to a nature walk and others doubling as observation points. Isn't that cool? You can look down here, see the street, take in the views. It's definitely a beautiful park. If you're ever around here, you should come out here and walk on it and sit on it. And from time to time, they will put in very bizarre art installations, like this pink tree, which probably symbolizes something. Also of note, this is a private park, and it does close at a certain point. So it's not like Central Park, where you should expect to be able to go in and leave at any point you want. Check out these hostile bleachers. Maybe it's modern, maybe it's futuristic, but it's not exactly comfortable. And there's about as much legroom here as Spirit Airlines will give you. I don't think you could stay here for a very long period of time. And maybe that's the point. But what if a group of people went to a place that was filled with hostile architecture here in New York and tried to stay there? What would happen? That's what we're gonna go find out.
All right, wake up, everybody. You know, get your coffee.
Well,
I ain't gonna lie, I thought this would be more interesting, but it's like, I don't know. It's kind of whatever. It got so many millions of views. I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna be crazy. Any of y'all in my comments from New York, or anybody in my subscriber list, y'all from New York and y'all feel like it's hostile and they trying to move homeless people out? Like, what's y'all experiences with this stuff?
Welcome to Zuccotti Park, the most hostile piece of architecture we're gonna see today. So today I'm doing hostile architecture, like this, right? It's disgusting. And I think this is the most cruel park in New York, because this granite gets so cold just sitting on it. Made me freeze my butt off. And look at how high the ridges are sticking up out of this thing. These granite tables are equally cruel and unforgiving. And look at all these nightmarish angles with like the way that this plant is. The whole thing is like designed for crowd control. But back in 2011, this park was the site of the Occupy Wall Street movement, where protesters camped out in this park for about a month. See this image right here with that red bar behind that guy? That was taken right over here. And whether you agree with their message or not, it took a lot of determination to stay in this place for more than 15 minutes. I mean, it is just a barren landscape. And yes, there are trees, but look at their position. They're only designed to eliminate crowds of people. Between these benches, these trees, and these weird plant boxes right here, it's tough to have like a mass gathering. And look at this little ridge that just kind of winds along here and goes up into the stairs. The whole thing is just, whoever built it wanted it to be here, and they wanted it to be looked at, and that's about it. Also, the protesters weren't here during the summer either. They were here from mid-October until about the end of November. It gets cold at night here in New York. Now, yes, the Occupy Wall Street movement did have significant support. There were a lot of people who donated and helped the people that were here stay here as long as they could with things like sleeping bags and food. There was even a library, and there was Wi-Fi here in the park. I'm sure there were bathrooms too, because I don't see any. Now, since 2011, the same type of mass takeover of this park hasn't happened before, and I guess these awful benches, I guess they do deter, but is that really how we want to build things? Should we build things in New York in a way that maybe doesn't lower everyone's standard of living all at the exact same time? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
So he just goes around like New York and just, I mean, he gets a lot of views for this. So, y'all tell me what y'all think about New York, man. I guess they trying to move people around and they trying to do stuff on the low. But this is my reaction to it. Me go on to something else. I ain't have much to say. I'm like looking at it and I'm just like, all right. I don't know. I don't know what y'all want. What he want me to say. But I'm looking at his thing and I'm just like, damn, that's messed up. Just vanished. Okay, so he makes a lot of stuff about New York and how I lived in Japan. He a traveler. He's a travel guy. But yeah, man, y'all let me know. Shout out to Cash Jordan. Do your thing, man. Exploring them concrete jungles in New York. Them shoes wasn't it. You make way too much money to be wearing shoes like that. But then again, what do I know? You feel me? Whatever. But y'all, like, share, subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.